it recorded.
So the long awaited CTC roll in a sea kayak. I've been saying we're going to put a post up for weeks now, so finally get around to it. So the CTC is, hopefully we all know, is that position less important. That's the setup position. Most rolls there will be no setup position in real life, but that position is really important. That's so C shape to C shape, hence the name. So it's crucial on that side. Elbows remain in. Never extend your arm with CTC. That's how you dislocate your shoulder. I know, well, not quite dislocated, but I damaged my shoulder. I was out kayaking for a year and a half because I was taught to roll wrongly. Brute force and ignorance. So as with every roll, the bottom half and the boat does the work, not your top half. Certainly not your arms and shoulders. So if you overextend, brute force, you'll damage your shoulder a little matter of time. So elbows in. If you remove the setup phase, because every roll's got to have that, the CTC is a 2-stage roll. From when you're underwater in a position, the sweep round to 90 degrees, first stage over. So all the more reason to learn to open your eyes underwater. Adults who say they can't open their eyes underwater, what they mean is they won't open their eyes underwater. Everyone can open their eyes underwater, especially freshwater. So learn, it's a big bonus. It'll make you more confident and comfortable in the water, because as an adult, unless you've overcome it as a kid, you will have an inherent fear of your head underwater. That's crucial in overcoming. So try and learn to do that. But essentially a CTC, upside down, follow the blade out, keeping the elbow and shoulder tight. The blade is in that position, underwater. Hip roll, a big aggressive hip roll for folks who prefer the term hip flick, but knee drive, leg drive, no left leg involved whatsoever. It's the right hip rolling onto the left hip. So when you're upside down, you bring your right hip from your left hand side over to the proper right hand side when you're upright. So the blade, all the blade does, well not all the blade does, but the main act of the blade is to act as a counterpoint for the weight of the boat rotating around it. It's not the other way around. It's never the blade aggressively pulling down to initiate the roll. It's the other way around. Initiate the roll and at the same time plant that blade. Think about planting in the water, rotating the boat around that blade, and there's a slight transference of pressure down on the blade, but try and keep that to a minimum. It's all in the hips, and a lot of people struggle with any roll because they don't realise, especially when you're beginning, how much importance there is on what's going on under the deck, because nobody can see it. They just watch people with space skirts, and there's obviously the majority, I'll go as far to say, there's a majority of club paddlers who teach rolling. The problem here is a lot of them are ex-whitewater kayakers, so the only roll they know is a CTC. Great for whitewater kayaking, but then they go into sea kayaking and then teach sea kayakers a CTC. If you're a beginner sea kayaker, you should never, especially most sea kayakers are older, you should never start off with a CTC roll. It should always be a layback roll, unless you get any kind of disabilities that prevent you from doing so, but that'd be few and far between. So don't fall in the trap of getting a club paddler who thinks they know what they're doing, teach a CTC if you're a sea kayaker. it's not the appropriate roll. You'll never need a CTC in a sea kayak. And even the premise of why a CTC kayak is important, I would contest. They say it keeps your head and face away from the bottom, but if you know how to do a lay-back roll properly, it also keeps your head and face away from the bottom, so there's no difference. So there's just this historical misconception that a CTC is the be-all and the end-all for sea kayak, for whitewater kayakers, river kayakers. I would disagree. Anyway, that's not the point. So here to learn how to do a CC. So when you're upside down, first stage of the roll, sweep round into that position. So wrist cocked, that position, that's your first stage over. Next stage is rolling the boat round that point, that blade, and then the blade acts as a downward pressure. So, like so. So when you practice, you should always maintain that position when you're up, just to prove to yourself and those that are teaching you that you've done the roll correctly. So your arm, you shouldn't be covered up in that position. It's that position, tucked in. Protect your shoulder and arms at all costs, especially with the CTC. So that the CTC is the one that will likely dislocate your shoulder. So once again, so it's all going on under the deck. It's the hip roll. So 2 stages, but I'm upside down, swing out, head, eyes on the blade, looking right down the shaft, hip roll, and still come up that position. You've got to maintain that position as a test of your form, your technique, for the beginner. That tucked in. The muscles on this side elongated, the muscles on this side tight. You should be feeling almost uncomfortable on that side. It's so crunched in. Get that real crunch going. So once again, almost, I don't know if you can see it underwater, but there's no part of me thinking pull down on the blade. Everything's thinking roll the boat. The blade acts as a counterpoint pressure to support the weight of the boat. So it's really the weight of the boat and the body transferring down the shaft that gives it the downward pressure. It doesn't need any real, you'll see folks, that is bad technique. Using brute force and ignorance, it's a recipe for disaster in a CTC. So one more time. Again, a CTC and a CTC cat is pointless. You'll never need it. Right. And the sweep or screw roll is just an extension of that. Rather than stopping at 90 degrees, the only difference in a sweep or a screw roll, the same roll, no difference. The screw roll was what a sweep roll used to be called. So again, same setup. When you start the sweep, you go further back. That's useful when if you're a whitewater kayaker, if you're in a hole at the bottom of a waterfall or a weir where it's water movement, it's quite a lot of aerated water, and that gives less support for a downward CTC. That's where you use a sweep. I would open to criticism here, but I would suggest that's more of an issue if you don't know how to do a CTC properly. When you're doing a lot of downward pressure, whereas it's the boat that does the work. So don't be don't be fooled by somebody that says they can do a CTC. That doesn't mean they can do it properly. I've seen so many bad rollers in my time, you wouldn't believe. And the worst is they go on to teach folk. They just teach other people bad habits, and so the cycle continues. So it's all on the legs, no pressure, or minimum pressure as you can with your upper body and arms and shoulders. So I really don't know what comment you do. Real lap paddle, same thing. And that gate shows you how little, everyone thinks this big spoon blade at the end of your paddle is important for a CTC. It's not. David Tang, if you're watching, asked the question, can you do a CTC with no paddle? I reckon you can, but I wouldn't embarrass myself by trying it now. I'll practice that first. But that just shows you the big spoon blade is not what gets you off the CTC, it's hip action, the roll, the boat. Hey Joe, you want to turn that off for me?